The probability that Wall Street flips on Tesla and suddenly says, okay, they are just totally going to lead the robot revolution, that this happens in the next 24 months is high. And if that happens, it goes to 1,000. Fast. You see all the signs lining up that in the next 12 to 18 months, we could hit 1,000, just tactically. I'm not even saying that would be rational. I'm just saying this can definitely happen. You have to anticipate. We will go into an economy of total abundance for some and total destruction for everyone else, unfortunately, economically, because you won't have a job. So you need to make sure in the next 24 months to get on the capital owner side of history. You need to have enough capital ownership to not have to work, because in the next 5 years, you're definitely getting wiped out as a worker. And then they can scale this and they will own this IP. And do you know how valuable that IP is? It's literally the bottleneck for global power. If there was ever a time in history to really track this shit, it's now. Yeah, no, it's very, very good to be with you, Pejjy. And what are you doing in Kuwait? It's like super interesting. You're live. You're in Canada and then you're in Kuwait working.
Well, in Kuwait, I just work here really. We have a little family business here. I work at that, and then I come home. I do my second thing, which is this YouTube stuff. I love this YouTube stuff, and then I call it a night and repeat the next day. There's no life here. Like I don't have any friends or anything here, because it's just very hard to make friends here.
But you know what, Pejjy? There's a very interesting point, because I like to think about civilization. It's like I'm just in a very pragmatic way, not theoretically, like about us. Like we want to build the life and the civilization, not just our personal life, but the whole thing. But I'm thinking about also friends and networks and all these things a lot, because I traveled a lot in my life. What I feel, why I'm so focused now on also doing more YouTube is, I'm not a typical YouTuber, right? I was a founder before then, executive. I'm doing mostly investing now. But I like YouTube mostly because of to build culture and community, but also I meet the most interesting people. Like, okay, what are the odds we meet in a bar in, I don't even know, in Dallas? Like 0. It's not possible. But on YouTube, people, or on X, you can meet very interesting people. So I think it's actually the new way of doing things, of building great friend networks, is through following your passion and communicating about it, because then you can meet the other people. I feel that it's much more rewarding than just hanging out with random people who don't share too much.
Yeah, absolutely. No, YouTube is amazing. And for everyone who's joining, we're just having a little small talk right now. I got Joe, but how do you say your last name?
Joe Bhakti, just straight Bhakti.
Joe Bhakti on the channel here. He has quite a bit of followers on Twitter, or X now. And he's also a fellow YouTuber as well that does cover Tesla. His links are in the description below. And we decided to do a podcast together, talking about Tesla. And he has a wild prediction of the stock hitting $5,000 by 2030, which we're gonna dive into, which is absolutely insane. But I recommend all of you guys check him out. He does some amazing stuff. We're gonna see some of the charts. Are we gonna see some charts today? I feel like that we are.
Oh, we could. I could. Yeah, sure.
We could. Okay, well, we're gonna talk about it. But we're just having some small talk now, talking about the YouTube stuff, where what we do, where we're from, all that kind of stuff. He just recently moved to Texas, which I'm eyeing too, to be honest. Canada is a no-go, man. Sheesh, but this YouTube stuff is amazing, man. This YouTube stuff, X stuff, you get to meet some amazing people here. Someone who is actually also German as well is Alexandria. I had her on the channel once.
Alexandra. I met her in person. I was at the, what is it called in San Luis Obispo, the Tesla X meetup. I met everyone and did some interviews with Gally, with Tesla Boomer, with Alexander Mertz. So that was very interesting. Yeah, she's amazing.
No, that's the thing. I've never been to any of these Tesla events, and I would love to, but it's just timing doesn't work. But maybe I don't know.
And location for me, it was a 2-hour drive from LA. It's pretty easy.
Yeah, we'll see. You're in the same country. For me, I'm not. So it's like I'm either here in the Middle East or I'm in Canada, and then sometimes timings don't work. I'm definitely eyeing Texas. The home prices there are so reasonable. The only thing that I'm a little skeptical, not skeptical, a little bit concerned, is that I know Texas has like a high crime rate, like 13% or something.
I mean, it really depends. I think Texas is very diverse. Like here, I'm in kind of in Lakeway, so it's like in the hills of Austin. It's completely crime free, right? So it depends where you go. So it's like it's the United States. It's like LA. If you're in Beverly Hills, you're safe. Then you go 3 miles southeast and you get killed by a gang. So you need
yeah.
you need to be just you need to get, it's different from Europe or Canada. You just need to know where you go, and then these areas can be super safe, but then you can't go certain other areas, or you have to be more cautious.
No, you gotta look for those areas. But let's talk about you, Joe. Let's talk about you. Like, what's your background, man? Like, what have you done? I know you earlier, before we hit record, you said you were like in Germany, then you came to California, now you're here in Texas. So, tell us about you, man.
Yeah, sure. I started, like, I'm an economist by trade. Most people don't know that. So I, all the way back in university and college, I studied economics. I think economics as a science completely sucks, but the topic is probably the most important topic. So it's this interesting paradox that it's super important, but the way it's being done is kind of a little stupid. So I like it because I can innovate it. And I then became a corporate executive. I did like mergers and acquisitions and things like that. Always liked finance a lot. I got very bored in Europe at some point in corporate, and then decided to become an entrepreneur after I was a quick, short stint in China for a year, also as an executive for like a large startup, American startup. And then in 2008, decided I have to move. I always wanted to come to the United States because I thought I need to do stuff similar to Elon's thought process. Like, if you want to do big things, you still need to go to the United States, and now even more.
100%.
And I think that paid off nicely. I mean, I had a lot of ups and downs, right? It wasn't smooth. I went here, had 2 startups fail. I came here in 2008, and there was a Armageddon thing going on, right? The financial crash, and learned my lessons. Then was in finance a little bit, in finance innovation with I2X, which was a kind of a innovation investment strategy that's very cool. Then went into biotech with Quantgene, and that's still ongoing. But long story, I'm not going to go into that too much. There's too much life going on, so I can't comment on too much. But long story short, coming year and going forward, what I realized is I started doing a little YouTubing because on my personal financial side, besides a little crypto, which I also cannot go into too much right now, but I'm a long-term holder. It's a funny story. I met Chamath Palihapitiya, you know him? He's like
the Canadian guy, right? The Canadian guy.
Canadian from this engineering school, the famous one.
Yes.
And he's one of the first Facebook employees, and he's one of the thought leaders in crypto. And I met him in Harvard at a event. And in 2000, when was that? 13? Like, before anyone knew anything about Bitcoin, right? No one has heard of that. And he's like, oh, it's happening, it's big. And I listened to his pitch, and it's like, I've never heard of that stuff. But it's encoded, mathematically encoded trust. And I was like, this is pretty hot. And then I bought, like, as I said, I'm not going into any details, but I bought like less than $10,000 worth of Ether.
Oh boy, you're doing that. Yeah.
Ether was at 11.
Yeah, and that's insane.
So
that's crazy.
Bitcoin was 680, but Ether at 11. It was crazy. I sold some of it after making 20x, but kept most of it. So now it's not 20x. So that was very good. I hold this forever because I think it's just ridiculous. So this is great. But then Elon was on my radar also very early. In 2010, I said, are you kidding me? This guy is crazy, like in a good way. Like, he's landing these, or he's building these rockets, and he's doing electric cars. And I listened to him. And I said right away, when everyone thought he's crazy, I thought, this dude is killing it. Are you kidding me? Look at his track record so far. And then I was investing in Tesla just a little bit. I didn't have that much money as an entrepreneur. You always like right at the brink, but I put some money in. And then basically in 2023, I started doing YouTube because I thought, well, I'm doing so much Tesla and have all these crazy discussions with people who don't believe me. In 2018, I told this JP Morgan wealth advisor, pretty high ranking in San Francisco, I was like, dude, I would load up on Tesla like crazy in 2018. And they said, like, are you nuts? Like, they're going bankrupt. Like, are you stupid? How are they going bankrupt? Do you really think after all that stuff, and they built the amazing Model S, they can't pull off Model 3? Are you stupid? I didn't say are you stupid. And they didn't listen to me, and you know what happened. So I really enjoyed that. In 2023, I thought I need to do YouTube because my theory was, and is even more, that in the future, if you play it right, Pejjy, you're playing it right. You're telling people the right thing. Tesla is all about when the robots are coming, and the robots are coming, and AI is coming, we will go into an economy of total abundance for some and total destruction for everyone else, unfortunately, economically.
That's interesting.
Because you won't have a job. So you need to make sure in the next 24 months to get on the capital owner side of history. You need to have enough capital ownership to not have to work, because in the next 5 years, you're definitely getting wiped out as a worker. Because why would you need workers? I mean, that's the big problem. Everyone has to transition into capital ownership. And ideally, you own capital assets that are related to AI and robots. And there's only one asset that's the safest in the world, which is Tesla, in my opinion. You can get lucky with other bets, right? You can try Figure One or something, but that's private. How do you even invest in that? You can try Nvidia, but they have much less upside than Tesla, of course. So I think, to put it in dramatic terms, we are at this very important fork in the road where the world will fundamentally change. For some people in very good ways, because you will never have to work again if you own 1,000 Tesla shares or more. So Pejjy has to get there. 1,000 shares. That's what you need. 5 million.
I'm actually a little over that.
That's good. You made it. That's for me. That's what I communicated as the threshold. Like, get to 1,000, then you will have. I'm updating my model, by the way. 5,000 is a little less than what I project now.
Okay.
On the latest updates.
Right, yeah.
But I think you will have at least $5 million in the next 4 years, because it goes to 5,000, and you will have.
That's just insane. Like, it's just so I'm guessing your modeling is mainly towards the Optimus, mainly. That's mainly.
Well, no, I'm modeling. My model. I can give you some. A screen share is gonna be. I have to be prepared because it's a very complicated model. I will.
Right.
Chop it up. But I basically have my own take on this. I was always good at modeling, and I was always a little on the innovation side in finance, where I told everyone, you're doing it wrong. You need to refine this a little bit. My video that's being probably out before this one is out, like on Monday,
right,
where I take the first overview deep dive into the model.
Okay.
I will talk about conventional Wall Street analyst models, how they are kind of a little wrong, the way they do it. The net present value and the share price target, like the target price. Right. What does that even mean? See, no one thinks about that. What do you mean 315 or whatever? Morgan Stanley. Like, what do you mean? Yeah. Like now, or in 3 months, or in 1 year? And how would that look like in 2 years? Is it in 2 years still this? Like, what is that? What is that price? Yeah. And there, no one has thought that through. It's like, well, it's just the price target. It's like, for when? Like, because when you think about discounted cash flow and net present value models, there are certain key metrics in there, key assumptions. For example, beside the actual business on the methodological side, how many years? What is your terminal value, right? Are you projecting 10 years of cash flow, or 15 years, or infinite, or 7 years? Most of these analysts don't even tell you. It's like, well, it's my net present value. Okay, it's a big difference. Is it 10 years, 7, 15, or infinite? I do 10.
Usually with these analysts, they do it within 6 to 12 months, though.
No, right? The way they calculate is, I think nearly everyone, is called net present value through a discounted cash flow model. So you're looking how much earnings will Tesla have over 10 years. And most of them do between 7 and 15 or infinite. And then you discount it down with a discount rate. And the discount rate, very important. I think Farzad got it wrong. Farzad is very amazing. But this, I mean, on the financial side, shout out, Farzad. But on the financial side, I really feel I need to talk more about the models to kind of bring a little education in how these models actually work. Because number one, you need to understand, what is your terminal value assumption? Like, is it 10 years or infinite or 15 years? Morgan Stanley, for example, said 2040. So they use 15 years. And then they compare it against models that use 10 years. That's stupid. You're losing 5. You just have a different assumption. The discount rate is very important. That is not the risk discount. The risk discount, like basically the risk discount, means if your company would be worth, based on all the projections, let's say $1 trillion, how much risk do you discount? You say, but the odds that this happens is only 50%. Therefore, I cut it in half. No one does it this way, except for me, but that's how you should do it, because there is a risk attached to it. The discount rate is something very different. It's the cost of capital. So you're saying, like, $1 million, if I tell Pejjy I pay you $1 million in free cash flow in 2 years, how much would you pay for that today? You would say, of course, not $1 million, because there's interest in there, right? $1 million in 2 years is not worth $1 million today. It's worth discounted down by a certain interest or discount rate per year. Again, there are tons of assumptions. What is that discount rate? So, for example, what's his name? CERN, like the smart.
Oh, CERN Basher. Yeah,
CERN Basher. Awesome. He said he uses between 14 and 10% discount rate, which is reasonable. I use 7%. But I mean, all these assumptions make a huge difference. If you have 14% discount rate, your cash flows in the future look dramatically different in the present than 7. You'd know compound interest, like it's dramatically different. So all these assumptions are being used very casually and not disclosed. And then, this is your target price. Like, dude, it's these assumptions you need to disclose and you need to argue for them, right? So you need to put these three key things together. What is your actual business projections? Like, are we at 8 billion bots in 2040 or at 8 million? That's a big assumption difference.
Yeah.
But the second is, what's your discount rate? And the third is, what's your terminal value assumption? Are you factoring into the value model 10 years from now until 2035 or until 2040? In my model, that makes a very dramatic difference. I can tell you, for example, just a quick insight here into the model. I'm assuming install base. If we do until 2035, I'm assuming a install base of 171 million Optimus robots in 10 years.
171 million. Do you mind if you could pull that up so we can see it?
My secret model.
Oh, let's see, because I'm a numbers guy, so a visual guy. So let's see what we got here. Wow, very clean sheets, that's for sure.
Here's my demand and growth projections, right? There's a whole model below that to explain this, but this is the bottom line. Here's the install base. And here's the projections. And just to the point I just made. And Pejjy, you have to interrupt me if it gets too confused and complicated, right?
Sure,
you just asked me. Here are my assumptions, DCF years. Right? I'm only using 10 years of future cash flows. This is, by the way, the only variable you cannot change in the model. It's too complicated, the formula. So if you change it here, it doesn't change the model. Everything else is dynamic. So if I would have to model out, but I think 10 years is very defensible.
Okay.
If you would take 15 years, you're starting to look too far in the future, right? Because who the hell knows what's happening?
Right.
There are huge implications for that number, for the share price, because... And here's the discount rate, 7%, which some people say it's low, but for me, there are certain rationales what you choose as a discount rate. For me, this is all about the cost of capital. In order for you to give me $1 million, what is the guaranteed return you need? And I'm basically saying 7%, you should be happy. You shouldn't assume more and you shouldn't assume less, right? 14% is crazy. No one gets like 14%. Now, why is this so important? If you have 10 years looking forward, you have basically 171 million Optimus robots. I also have Robotaxis here, but let's say Optimus for now. And the cash flow they generate from that. But if you move 1 year forward to 2025, of course, you shift this whole thing. If you are at 2024, you're basically ending up at 41 million, right?
Yeah.
Because that's 10 years. So you're basically anticipating 41 million terminal rate of Optimus install base and that cash flow all the way to this point. But if you shift to 2025, you move 1 year forward. And here you have already 85 million. So you can imagine that the share price has a huge impact in 2025. So the net present value in 2025 is much higher than now. Now, this is very important. And that's what I'm changing here with the whole projections. I do not give you a price target. I give you a price target by year. So if my model comes true, you will see a massive increase in share price every single year, which it should be because you're moving forward. And that is very important for what I call future value-based investing. So it's not value-based investing, it's future value-based investing, which is the key now for these companies. Right. So I give you basically a price tag and say, this is the fair future value of Tesla. And if the current share price is below that, it's a good investment. If it's above that, well, it might be a good investment in 2027. And you might buy it now because you see the return. But
that's nice.
So that's the first thing. Of course, I also have this here is the next thing that comes on top. It's very important. The risk input, the discount on that net present value should be basically a function of the risk you're assuming. And the risk, let me explain that. Here you have Optimus, you have Robotaxi, and I just introduced the risk dimensions. The competition, for example. That number means how dangerous is the competition? What is the risk this all doesn't happen because of competition? For Optimus, I say it's 15%. This is a little subjective. You can argue about it, but I'm saying there is a 15% chance of either a competitor completely destroying Tesla, which is a 15% chance. So it's very unlikely, but it's
and possible. This number will reduce as the years go on.
Exactly. Or it can be reduced at any moment, right? If they come out, for example, technology risk is 10%. For a Robotaxi, 30%, because I'm still like, who the hell knows? But it could happen at any point in time. This goes down, right? Could go down or could go up. They could say, oh my God, we just figured out Optimus actually fundamentally cannot do a certain thing. Then it goes up. So this either means the risk of 10% that the entire thing gets destroyed, or that the competition lowers the value of everything by 15%, which is the same.
Right.
And Then is key man risk 2%. What is the risk that Elon dies or something or drops out?
Yeah, that's
Well,
pretty low.
it's very low, but it's possible. And that's like
Yes.
very bad. Product and demand risk, like what is the odds that no one wants it? Not very high, but
Oh yeah.
it exists. Political and regulatory, I think there are very significant risks for Optimus, but the Tesla is perfectly prepared. And the risk is mostly geostrategic. Would you run the US economy on Chinese robots? Like, no way. Would China run
Yeah,
it
when,
on
when you put it that way, when you put it that way, that's a good point.
So
That's a very good point. Yeah, but the thing that the robotaxis, you have it more than the in political and regulatory. I think now that we got Trump in the White House and we got Elon as a very close advisor, I think this risk should go way down.
Why I already put it down because 10%, I mean, this is a low risk. But I think most analysts would say it's 40% or something. I think it's because of Trump very low. But this is also globally, everything globally. So it's like the average risk globally. I think they're both low. I think FSD has a much higher technology risk still. I am pretty confident this number goes down, but I want to track it as it is, right? So if it goes down, I put it down.
Europe, the FSD thing that Europe is, I mean, you know very well, Europe with the red tape and with all like the left side driving, the right side driving, how is it going to work? I think that'll take some time. I know Tesla, they said that in Q1 of 2025, they want to get Europe approved, but I don't know. I think that'll need more time. China for sure, because they were going full speed at it. But in Europe, I don't know.
Yeah, it's like you're totally right. I think there's a higher problem in Europe. I'm just, that's why I need like multiple videos on this model, because you need to go systematically through all these aspects. And then you see here the magic thing. This is the risk discounted cash flow. So basically the fair value, in my opinion, of Tesla right now in 2024 is 1 trillion, which is surprising. I did the whole model without looking at the share price. So it's pretty good. It's pretty close.
Right on point. Right on point.
But what you see is, assuming none of these risks changes, which is a wrong assumption, right? They will change. But for now, just based on these risks, you see the crazy increase here. Next year, it's already 2 trillion. Then it's nearly 4 trillion. Then it's 6 trillion and so on. So that's why I'm so, and I've translated into share price further down. And this is a dynamic model. So I can change this and this automatically changes. So if you say, for example, Elon has a heart attack, right? Whatever. Like, I hope not. Yeah. But everyone gets more concerned. So you take Elon at 10% risk, and you see that all this is affected.
I see.
But you also see it's not much affected because it's such a small little piece. If you de-risk, for example, Robotaxi technology to 10%, right?
Oh my God. Yeah.
You see the effects. I mean, here's the Robotaxi column. So this is very affected by it. So you can see it, but this way you can basically model out the risk, but you can also model out very important other things. For example, when exactly does the deployment start? So here's the Optimus unit sales that I assume. I assume 10,000 in 2026 and 100,000 in 2027, and then it scales here based on a certain formula. But I can say, okay, what happens if they would bring this down to 10,000 if they're delayed? That has a massive impact. See?
Oh, wow.
If they're basically, instead of 100,000 in 2027, they only have 10,000, because then the whole trajectory gets shifted to the right. So it has a pretty brutal effect here, but it just shifts everything. So you're still at 2 trillion in 2026. Still 100% growth from where the share is now. So it looks dramatic, but when you really look at the returns, they just shift down. They're being delayed, right? So it gives you much better insight how dramatic things can push that in now, the share price, but it's not really changing anything unless you put one of these risks like to 100%, then of course you get knocked out. And Robotaxi,
that's incredible.
Robotaxi, same thing. Active install base for Robotaxis, I assume super conservative. I assume 10,000 Robotaxis deployed in 2027.
Oh, it's gonna be much sooner than that. I think it's gonna be much sooner than that. I think next year we'll see 100. Oh wait, you're saying 10,000 by 2027? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I'm a little conservative here, but where I'm not conservative and why I'm rather being delayed with the start is once I start, it grows pretty brutally. Right, 200%, 200%.
Massively,
and here, by the way, the formula to just explain my thinking here. And by the way, Pejjy, basically you have these 3 important dimensions for these models that really impact the share price, and most people only focus on one. The first dimension is what everyone wants to discuss. when do we deploy? How many robotaxis? And how do we scale Optimus? And when is happening? This is only one dimension.
Right.
The next dimension is your discount rate and your terminal value. Like,
Yes.
this changes everything. We say, oh, look at 15 years or look at 14% on 7, the whole thing gets cut in half. So that's where people have a total blind spot on these technicalities of the financial model. And the third one is the risk. And no one has I'm the only one who has this kind of model, which makes like total sense. You want to say, besides all these assumptions, do I cut it in half, everything based on risk that it doesn't happen?
Yeah.
Or do I put it to 75% or to 25%? So you need to really independently model these 3 dimensions in. And the risk and the financials, all the YouTubers found too boring, right? They say, I want to talk about Optimus. This is 100,000 or 10,000 to that. But if you don't put all 3 dimensions together, you can't talk about the share price.
This model is only putting in the Optimus and Robotaxis. Do you have? And I saw energy somewhere.
No, I have
the
core
top.
here. I have the core business here.
Okay.
I call it core DCF risk. So this is energy and EVs. But as you see, it's only 250 billion and then 300.
Yeah, it's nothing.
It's small. I'm very conservative. I do basically 18% EBITDA margin, and then I assume a certain growth rate, which is not low. But I only assume the multiple it has right now on this. So it's kind of you can be this entire model. That's the funny thing, is pretty conservative on all fronts. But I can get you a glimpse of the actual share price. I'm actually now in the new model getting in 5 years to 6,500 share price.
You're saying so you're saying share price could be 10,000 by 2030, double.
Yes.
If what you're projecting here will happen, which is just
it's assuming. I mean, it's assuming aggressive numbers, but are they aggressive? That's the question. I assume
that is the question.
3.5 billion Optimus robots in 2040.
I mean, that's like I can't comprehend this. That's the issue with me, right? Like, I can't sit down and actually scale that far in the future, especially with it. Like, here's the thing: the reason why I went all in Tesla back in 2020 was for the main reason of the robotaxis and FSD, right? Because back in 2020 there wasn't any talks about a bot or anything.
I mean, robotaxi, by the way, I have assumption installed base of 230 million, which is a lot.
That's insane. This alone could take Tesla stock well above 10 trillion. Just this alone.
Yeah, but
well above 10 trillion.
Way above. But the Optimus robots are more crazy. But here's what I think, Pejjy. Why? Let's start with robotaxi. I think it's all about these first years. When does it start and does it really work? And what people don't understand is, like, once these robotaxis really work, let's say the kings are gone, and I think people just underestimate AI and Elon and Tesla and what 5 years mean. Like, you don't even understand. Like, we have AGI next year. The experts say this more and more. We will have AGI. This thing will be smarter than any PhD, all these ChatGPTs. People don't understand what it means. And that translates also into robotaxis. And I think in totally latest 3 years, the robotaxis will work. And what that means, that's what people don't get. It means you can deliver 70 cents and less per mile, and you can replace all freaking public and private transport. And if you don't do that, you get slaughtered. This is the next thing that people don't understand. It's not an option. You will get destroyed economically. You have no choice. It will be crazy. That's why I think 230 million in freaking 26 years. Are you kidding? Like, no, 16 years. 16 years, you don't even understand. Like, we didn't have iPhones 16 years ago. So, and we are accelerating like crazy. And here you have economic forcing functions like crazy. And that's why I'm also, so in robotaxi, what are you going to do? Like, as a country and city, you are not going to replace all your buses and all that stuff with robotaxis. You have to. You will look like an idiot. No, everyone's going to move away. Your economy will implode. You can't afford this. And on Optimus, take this whole thing times 1,000. Because I mean, that's my favorite topic, right? If I would describe one thing that I'm totally crazy about, it's the robot revolution. People have no clue what's going to happen. Like, it's going to be so much bigger than even the biggest bulls actually understand. Here's one reason. Everyone says, oh, it's half of global GDP and stuff. First of all, global GDP will go through the freaking roof like crazy. Like, half of global GDP means 2x the global GDP just in 10 years, right? So, and the next thing is, and here's the thing that people really don't get. I'm German. I'm from Germany. I understand what the German economy, it's a very powerful thing, the German economy, but it has one fundamental problem from that all other problems stem. including migration, cultural implosion, whatever, revolution. It is called skilled labor. If you put into the most developed economies in the world, Japan, South Korea, Germany, they all have the same problem. They don't have labor. If you introduce super skilled labor at a tenth of the costs, the impact on these super developed economies is so enormous that it's not just an economic impact, it's a huge geostrategic impact. You will turn these loser countries, I mean, they're top, but they're losing right now, into the absolute winners. If you take German, Japanese, South Korean IP, skills, all that stuff that no one in the world can do, and start putting it into robots. By the way, they will own that IP, right? The companies, not Tesla, because Tesla will provide them. But who trains Miele or Bosch or Mercedes? Well, not Mercedes, but all these machine-to-machine, all these crazy companies.
Like that.
You need to train them with someone else. That's the whole point. It's a little factory somewhere in Germany that creates like screws for like nuclear reactors or some crazy stuff where they have a world monopoly. All these German firms have global monopolies on all kinds of stuff that no one knows exists, like screws and little gummies and stuff like that, and like the ability to create some specific piece for some crazy thing. Look at NVIDIA and TSMC. You know that there are two companies in Europe, like Zeiss, the lens. There's only one company in the world that can produce that lens, that's in Germany and the Netherlands. These guys,
ASML.
they can now train robots, and that's the key. It's about people, and then they can scale this, and they will own this IP. And do you know how valuable that IP is? It's literally the bottleneck for global power. Like it's chips, it's AI chips. So, and that's just one example. They have that all over the place. From this is crazy stuff. Now they can produce at any scale, at any place. And I think the geostrategic implications are insane. And it will not take 5 years for them to understand. These are savvy business people. If you tell them, that's the difference to AI. Robots are so much more powerful than AI. AI, no one understands. If you go to like a family-owned super special business in Germany, explain to them what AI does for them. It's like very hard to understand. Explain to them what a robot does. Oh, you're paying 100,000 for each of your workers per year. You're paying 10,000 for that plus 12,000 fee, and they work 10 times better. They work day and night, and you can replicate that thing within a second. You buy a second one, put them into India, and you have a branch in India that can do the same thing. Do you think that it takes long for them to understand that? No, it takes a second. They're going to say, buy them all. And all of them are going to buy them all. And if they don't buy them all, they're out of business within 12 months. And so you think that's not going to create the insanest wave of demand? And politics will jump. It's like, dude, the politicians will say, if we don't do that, Poland is going to knock us out in 5 years. So it will be a crazy race for robot domination. And guess who profits? Tesla. So then people say, oh, are you crazy, Joe? 3.5 billion bots by 2040. Do you understand what happens once these things actually are good? And I predict they will be extremely good within 36 months. There is no holding back. This is going to be the nuclear arms race times 1,000. Because if you don't win this,
isn't that dangerous though? For like, let's say, branching out to, let's say, geopolitics and wars, and I don't know. Don't you think that'll be like some next level? I don't know.
This is all very dangerous. This is all insanely dangerous. But I mean, we're not going to change that. We just have to own the shares. Because whatever danger comes, Pejjy, there's a golden rule. You 50 million in the bank is better than 5.
That's true, but that I don't know. That's very hard for me to comprehend. But
I think the way I project the future is not what I want. I just look at the facts, first principles, and quantify them and say, well, is there any other scenario? And the answer is no. As long as these things work, there is no other scenario. This is going to happen, 100% guaranteed. And it might be, I might be off by 50%, right? It might be 7 billion. It might be 1 billion. Who cares? If it's 1 billion, it's going to be 3 billion 18 months later. So, I mean, my price targets can be off by 2 years, but not much more.
It's crazy because, even if we want to think that, even if we want to not have these bots, well, China is doing them. So, I mean, if they're doing them,
you have no choice. It's like the AI.
You have no choice. You have to get on top. I mean, especially the US, they don't want to be number 2.
I mean, it's literally like, I don't want to scare people, but that's just what it is. It's like nukes. If you say, I don't like nukes, they're so evil, let's not build them. It's like, well, guess what Russia is going to do?
That's right.
They are just going to build them. So, I mean, the question how this all ends for humanity, of course, I have some concerns here, but I have a certain blind optimism that as long as people like Elon are in charge, there is a chance. But we are running mostly because of AI, not robots. We are running I mean, heads on into some insanity, obviously, but who the hell knows? That's why you have to watch Pejjy and Joe's channel, because we need to observe that and then react fast. But my golden rule is, what you can control is buy the right shares, make the right life decision, accumulate wealth as rapidly as possible by being smart and understanding the future. Then you have wealth, then you have more, freedom to operate, and watch very closely, at least weekly, what the hell is going on. Find your right YouTubers and access and watch that whole thing. If there was ever a time in history to really track this shit, it's now, because who the hell knows? You have to be on top of your game over the next 5 years. Otherwise, there's some risk.
Yeah. I mean, 2026. If Elon's saying that the production of bots will start in 2026,
and he's lowballing this. He's lowballing it. I tell you, it's gonna start.
You're saying next year then?
They are definitely gonna ramping this up as we speak. They're doing all kinds of tests. I just heard from, who was that here in Austin? Like they already saw, I think some YouTubers also said that they already saw these bots in action last week at Tesla, and they said it's mind-boggling. People don't get it. And I'm doing my little trajectories in my mind. If you have AGI next year, this is clear at this point. Of course, these bots are gonna work next year. Dramatically work. And in 2027, they will be replacing every human worker, skill-wise. The main reason why I think these timelines that I project here are pretty reasonable, if not conservative, is because very simple. Y Combinator. You know Y Combinator, the famous startup accelerator?
No, I don't
YC. Know so that's a little side story, very important to know. So these people were invented in 2009 or 2006. And they basically had the idea to fund seed stage startups at scale, in batches. They are the first ones to do it. These people they invested in a whole range of companies. They got 7% of the company for $100 or for $50,000. Do you know what companies they created? They got 7% of these companies for $100,000. Airbnb, Dropbox, Skype, Reddit, on and on and on and on. They created $1 trillion in market cap at seed stage. And so you have to look it up by Combinator. This is a very legendary thing. And they create over 4,000 companies at this point, including these. Instacart, endless amounts of billion-dollar companies. They have this mantra: how do you build a successful startup? What is the one magic silver bullet? And they have one sentence: make something people want. This is the most important thing. If you make something people want, you can make all kinds of mistakes. It doesn't matter. And guess what people want? Global domination, superior economies, and shit tons of money. This is literally what people really want. And what is all of that? Optimus. And that's why I think this will not be a little product oh, please buy my Optimus. This will be supply constrained for 20 years or forever. I don't even know.
That's crazy. This is why I can't comprehend it, even though you've broken it down nicely. It's just it gets very nutty.
And I think, they actually I'm always trying as a YouTuber too, to deliver value to viewers. And there are two types of value. There's value by saying the same thing other smart people say, because my viewers might not watch them. But there's much more value in figuring out what's my perspective, my specific niche that the other smart ones don't get, and they get other stuff, right? They are better at technology. So I'm an economist. I understand geostrategy and different economies and these macro effects of the robots. Because there are some very smart people who already say Optimus is going to be nuts. This is going to replace all human labor. But they're still underestimating the geopolitical impact and the insanity that ensues, and the total transformation of global power balances back towards the most developed countries, by the way, which are in trouble right now. The entire population problem, the baby problem, this is all getting solved, at least economically, through Optimus. Think about what that means. It's a complete rebalancing of power.
Wow. So hold on. You believe, or you think that once we have all these Optimists out there and taken over, that this will solve the population collapse? Or because
here's my crazy. So let's talk about my little plan, because I have a specific plan. My plan is, of course, to help everyone, including myself, to capitalize on this so we can benefit from it, the best. But I think Optimus is going to solve the baby problem on two levels, which is very interesting. It will solve the problem on the primary level for obvious reasons. You just replace humans, which is a little sad, but it's economically extremely attractive. So that will allow these countries like South Korea, Japan, Germany, and countries like that regain enormous power, because they can basically leverage exactly their strength, like their high quality IP, their inventiveness.
Yeah.
And that can compensate for the central weakness, high labor costs, and they can't find these skills. But then there is a secondary effect, how it literally solves the baby problem. Not on its own, but with our help. I think this new economy of total abundance, and that's my mission here, building up in my channel and making people actually interested in these future questions. It allows us to also restructure society totally fundamentally. Right? Relationships, men and women, and all these things. I love the baby problem. I have the baby problem myself. But I'm single right now for no reason, because it's so hard to date. It's ridiculous, and you can't find the right girl. And it's like, and even if, like, does she want to have a lot of children? And then you get into all these assumptions are off and wrong and broken right now. And so that's one of my favorite topics after the robot revolution. The robot revolution basically creates abundance, extreme capital if you do it right. If you and me do it right and our viewers, but then it unlocks the future. It's like, let's assume we have some abundance. You have over 1,000 Tesla shares. You're on the right side of history, but what do you do now? Okay, fine. Now I have capital. What's my freaking plan? And then it gets into your personal life. Like, what about babies? What about health? What about wealth of other sorts, right?
Right.
And I think it allows us to just completely rethink the problem. Because when you think about the baby problem, a lot of people blame like feminism and wokeism and that the women don't want to stay at home anymore.
You're
and
right.
Then, of course, you're dead. Like, if women don't stay at home and have babies, you won't have babies. It's very simple. And so why don't they want to stay at home? Because they want to be emancipated and do all the men stuff. I think that's completely...
Yeah.
And I thought about it. Is that really true? Because when I talk to my female friends, who doesn't want to stay at home, have a lot of babies and get everything paid for? Everyone wants that. 90% of women. Of course, 10% of women truly don't want it. And that's totally fine. They can have careers, or they're gay or whatever. That's totally fine. But what about the 90% who just actually secretly or even openly want that? Sure, pay for me. I have 6 babies. I get all the money. Why would I not prefer that from being chained to a desk at Facebook? Like, that's just stupid. I analyzed this a little bit. Let's talk about the baby problem. I mean, Elon also likes the baby problem. And I tell you, I analyzed the problem. And what I found out is that feminism, which everyone blames, the woke mind virus, they put it into women's brains and now they think they don't want babies and they hate men. I think it's after the fact cope feminism. No one is voluntarily a feminist like that. You become a feminist once you realize, oh, damn, I can't find a man, I can't have babies, I actually am a career woman now. Now I justify and say, yeah, I don't even want it. But is it true? No. And you know what my main argument is for that? Why I think I'm right? What countries have that problem the worst? Germany, okay, they have a bunch of feminists.
Yeah, developed countries, yeah.
South Korea, Japan, and Italy. You know who doesn't have feminists? These 3 countries. So how is it that the countries that are worst affected by reproductive problems are non-feminist countries if feminism is the cause? So feminism is not the cause. And when you dig deeper, it's pretty clear what the cause is. Complex economies and economic pressure. Because if you're a woman, you want to have 6 kids and get them paid for, who the hell is going to pay for it? You can't. You can't find a man who says, sure, here's 300,000 a year.
Yep.
Like,
that's true.
They don't exist. I mean, they do exist, and you see that rich people in California, they often have 4 kids. They figured it out. Elon has 100 kids. So I think it's an economics problem.
It is.
And that can be now solved because of the abundance economy. So this could shift the entire baby problem if we learn to address it and change culture and tell women, look, it's no problem. You can stay at home and men will pay for them. And then we tell men, well, dude, you need a lot of money. And here's how you make a lot of money. So once you fix these 2 sides of the equation, we will have a baby boom. That's my prediction.
Wow, that's crazy. That's absolutely
crazy. Because Pejjy, again, the magic sentence from Y Combinator: make something people want. And people want babies, so they're going to make babies if they can. But what we have to make is a new framework that funnels in the money, so the guys have the money to pay for the babies and the women can stay home. Because everyone wants that. Men want money. Women want babies. Babies want to exist. What's missing is the freaking framework.
Man, that if that's Elon's like end mission with this Optimus thing, well then, at least for humanity, I mean,
I think it's
I don't know. Well,
maybe it's not his
that's pretty genius.
I think it's I don't know if it's Elon's mission yet. I don't know if he thought this through to this extent, but once he sees it, he might agree or tweak it or whatever. That's why I want to do YouTube and get these thoughts out, get feedback,
Get these thoughts out.
and get everyone, did I overlook something? It takes a lot of first principle thinking because most people are so ingrained in the propaganda right now. It's like, oh no, women don't want this anymore. It's like, really? Did you ever talk to women?
Yeah. Elon also talks about that, like, once all this Optimus thing goes up and it becomes big, money won't mean a thing. But I think referring back to what you said, this will only mean to some people or to a group of people, not to everybody.
It will mean to Tesla shareholders who have more than 1,000 shares. That's why I'm
not financial advice, but I guess so.
I mean, of course, you have to assess your own risk, everything. But you know what I mean? I don't want to sound dramatic, but this is the world, and the humans and humanity will never be smooth sailing. Never. By evolutionary definition, there will always be a struggle for survival because humans designed it like this. And the struggle for survival is, will you be a capital owner above the threshold or not? And capital owner in this future where capital is everything. It's all about owning the robots, owning AI, and directing them. And so there is a race for getting over the line. If you're under the line, you rely on your own work, you'll be super toast.
That's crazy. But going back to your little chart here, I do want to I have a few questions. How much are you pricing in the Optimus per bot? Like, how much do you think Tesla will sell each bot for?
So I have some assumptions here. I have 1 million pre-orders once it's getting announced in 2026. And pre-orders are important because the ramp before pre-order fill will be 200% per year. And after, I assume 100, right?
Okay.
Because so this million is a boosting in the beginning. Then the Optimus, where do I have this here? I assume $10,000 COGS.
There it is. Okay. So exactly what Elon is saying. Okay.
Yes, I assume 20,000 ASPs, average selling price, and then assume I'm very aggressive here, more aggressive than Morgan Stanley, on the per annum. Oh, it's not SaaS, it's RAS, Robot as a Service. Sorry.
Oh, yes.
I assume only $10,000 a year because there will be pressure to make it very efficient. So you can operate them at $10,000 fee per year, and you invest initially $20,000 to buy one.
Oh, wow. So that would be like, wow. that's crazy.
It's very aggressive, but this is, aggressive in a conservative sense. I'm saying they only make 10,000, so less than 1,000 per month per bot, per industrial specialized bot. That's a very conservative assumption. It assumes that these IP carriers and trainers of the bots will also make maybe more than that per month. But if you lease out a Miele robot because you're a Chinese white goods manufacturer and you want to actually license the Miele workflows, you buy an app from Miele. This is all my secret predictions here, Pejjy. You hear it here first.
Yeah,
so there will be a giant app store. I think there will be a giant industrial app store. And it allows these super specialized companies to say, you know what, if you pay me 2,000 per worker and one line has 100 workers, you pay me 200,000 per month, you can replicate a Miele line and I give you a license for China or something like that. And because how do you capture the world's skilled knowledge as Tesla? You need to incentivize an economy. So everyone who owns that skilled knowledge has a real incentive of putting it into the robots and reselling it or reusing it internally for scaling. So you need to basically have a massive economy on top of the robots to actually code and train all these robots on some random super skilled specific freaking production line somewhere in the Black Forest. But all over all over Earth. Can be in Sudan, can be everywhere where you have something, they need to program it in and train these, and you need to incentivize. I basically have an operating system theory that Tesla just charges $800 per month to use the operating system of each robot, and then there will be apps on top of it. And so this is conservative.
Which makes sense, yeah.
It's conservative compared to any kind of labor cost. Are you kidding me? You're paying $100,000 per year, and here you're paying $10,000 a year.
Yeah. Do you have the same thing for the Robotaxi, like the apps or in-curated experiences and stuff? Because when I was doing the video with Cern Basher, he was talking about the Robotaxis, and then he was talking about, Robotaxis, the cost per mile, all that stuff does count. Then you have the other things that Tesla can make a lot of money on, like maybe advertisements, maybe in-curated experiences through apps like Netflix or
I keep it very, I keep it very, I'm pretty cold-blooded with my models, and I keep it very first principle, and I think there are these tons and tons of additional opportunities, but I'm only modeling in the big, fat, meaty,
the big things,
$500 trillion thing. And so that's just,
so in a way it's conservative, which is crazy.
Everything I do here is pretty conservative if my central first principle assumptions are true. And there are two fundamental assumptions, or there are three. Number one, the technology works. Number two, the global dynamics of Robotaxi and Optimus are true. But I'm 1,000,000% sure they're true. That it's going to be a crazy race. It's like a stockpiling race because you will be knocked out if you don't do it. So this will be carrot, giant stick. You have no choice. And the third one is, of course, when it happens, right? So when are we deploying how many? Which is like, let's see. But it will be between 2026 and 2028 the scaling will start. I'm very sure about that. I might be wrong, but I'm still very sure. So these are the three assumptions. And if I think about all three, I don't see how I'm wrong. The technology will work. Geostrategic is and crystal clear. This is a giant carrot and stick. And third, this will happen between 2026 and 2028. So if that is true, this model is very conservative. And of course, there's a fourth assumption that Tesla wins this, right? And there's no one else.
Yeah, of course. Elon was talking about that eventually there'll be more robots than humans, and Tesla could probably take 20% market share of that, which is crazy because that means 80% of that is going to be other companies.
And I actually think he's just randomly cautious, and it's very intuitive. So he's not necessarily right about it. He wants to sound not totally crazy.
Yeah.
But I think it's not reasonable. Why would Tesla be 20%? Like Tesla has complete global domination. Like, how are you going to compete with Tesla? And what Elon, I think, I don't want to sound crazy, but I think maybe ahead of Elon, which means Elon will think the same thing, I predict, or come up with something smarter that I didn't think of. But I think what people don't recognize is there is Optimus. There's the operating system layer of Optimus, but then there's the app layer. And this app layer, people do not understand yet. And this app layer gives Tesla a complete market dominating position. Because will you ever trust? Let's assume there's a Chinese competitor that is better than Tesla. Just assume. Would you ever trust that thing to put your country's freaking skill IP into a Chinese company for your entire skill base?
Yeah, that's a big red flag.
Way.
Yeah, that's
so
a big red flag.
That's what people underestimate. Tesla has an unfair advantage, even if it would be number 2 or 3 technology-wise, which could happen. It's unlikely, but could happen. Because you need a non-Chinese company. Otherwise, you will not do it as Europe and the US and India.
Yeah, that is a big that's a big advantage right there. Very big advantage. And that goes with not just for Optimus or anything, but for like IP and all that kind of stuff. True. But
Robotaxi
it does affect Robotaxis as well.
Yeah, Robotaxi is basically the whole thing Optimus like divided by 20 or something. It's still big, but all these concerns are similar, but do you want your entire transportation infrastructure be controlled by a Chinese company? Not really. But do you want to have your entire freaking economy's knowledge owned by China? Like, no.
Yeah, heck no. That's a big that's not going to be a good day for anybody.
Right. And of course you also don't want to be completely dependent on an American company necessarily, but Elon is smart. And Elon already diversifies in Germany, for example. He's very focusing on X. He's becoming very political in Germany, which I love. He basically overthrew the government there too. No, most people don't know that 2 days after the US election, the German government collapsed because they have the same thing going on. They have a right-wing party that's Trumpers. They're getting isolated and discriminated by the media and by the elites.
Same thing.
But now they have 20% of the vote in a 5 party system, right? So they are the second strongest party now, and they're all pro Elon. And so this is very interesting. And Elon is very smart. He's already getting very involved in German politics. He understands Germany is the lead in Europe. If Germany falls into his hands, he has all of Europe. And so then, Tesla will not be seen only as an American company. First of all, you trust Americans more than Chinese, but still American. But he will establish this as a very strong German and European branch with its own thing. So they trust that. He will probably, once Optimus is up and running, do the same thing in India. And then you have the 3 most important markets outside China.
This guy's going for world domination, which is crazy.
He already won that, I think, but yeah.
Oh my God. Oh, that's insane. So all right, all this Optimus and Robotaxi stuff is just, mainly the Optimus thing is like very nutty to me still. And I think for me, I gotta take it year by year, because thinking about 2035, seeing billions of them, and it's nutty. It's really nutty. So let's come back to short term this year or 2025. Let's talk about 2025. There's a lot of commotion going on X, talking about the EV credits going away and it's going to affect Tesla in 2025.
Well, I think my take on it is now we're getting into tactical trading and investing. So first of all, why I have my model is because the way I see it is like, here's 2024, my share price, my value-based share price, 310 roughly, 320, 329. And then it goes to 600 and it goes to, 3,000 and stuff like that in 2027. What I do is I compare that to the actual share price now and the exact numbers in that model. And I see what is the delta, the differential. Because there will be a time where it might exceed my fair value because it goes like in crazy movements, right? And I want to know, where am I really on a value level? And as long as I'm dramatically underpriced, right now it went so much up that it's very close to what I think is fair right now. But of course, I know it's going to go up 100% next year in my model. So, you could go a little bit above, because who needs 100% return per year? I live with 80. So now the question to your point is, EV credits, right? Of course, we know that's just stupid, the whole thing. But if you trade a little bit, and I am into trading, so I'm different from Stephen Mark Ryan. He's going to bash me, and he might be right in the long term, but I can't stop it. I have to trade a little bit, right? My core position
I don't trade either. I just buy and hold.
My core position is firm, but I'm always trading a little bit. And it tends to work out. It's a lot of effort for a little gain compared to just buy, hold. So that's why Steve Mark Ryan is probably going to win in the long term against me, but I just can't stop myself. So, and it's fun. And it trains me also to predict the future. I mean, it's much harder to predict the short-term future. So for me, it's a skill. I'm always right long-term. That's easy. But the more you can squeeze it together, if you could be right next week, you would be a trillionaire in 1 year.
Oh, yeah.
So that's the ultimate game, right? So how can I get better in short-term predictions? And the only way to get better is you need to try and get a bloody nose all the time. It's like, okay, so to read. And so the trick about short-term is you need to not just anticipate Elon and the world and humans and geopolitics and technology. You need to anticipate stupid Wall Street, and not just what they think and want, but even the mechanics, which becomes impossible, right? So, but what the analysts think, there are ways of getting better and predicting when they understand what, which is very golden for 6 months. I think when you look at Morgan Stanley, when you look at Goldman Sachs, when you look at the influence of YouTubers on Wall Street more and more, they're all watching Farzad, and maybe even you, maybe somebody, who knows. They smarten up a little bit, like Dan Ives. He's totally synced up now with the YouTubers, right? He understands we are right.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
But then he has to translate it. He cannot just say what he believes. He has to appease his employer and his client. So he has to be a diplomat between these two words of stupidity and being smart. So they're not dumb. They just have to do their job, and they can't, basically, if you say, oh, Joe's saying 6,000 price target, the highest street target is 400, I can venture out to 500. I don't need to go to 6,000, because if I'm the best, that's enough. So the EV credit obviously is stupid, and it will always have a short-term impact, like we saw yesterday or 2 days ago. But I think the right trade is that Wall Street does now talk and model in. Look at Morgan Stanley. They basically said Optimus today has a $400+ value in the share price.
485. Yeah,
485. But that's also what I love about these guys. They're not dummies, but they're annoying. They're like, it's 485, but we don't put it into the price tag. It's like, it makes literally no sense. So you're saying it's 485, but the chance it's happening is 0. Because they would say, no, it's not 0, but I just don't put it in. It's like, what are you talking? Like, you just failed at your freaking job. You can't have both. You can't say it's 485, but it's just not there. It's like, what's your thinking here? And that's why I built my models like this. I would, if I was them, it's like, well, maybe I'm mega conservative and say it's an 80% chance of failure and take 20% of that. Right? So it's $80, put $80 on top of the stock price. But they don't do that because they don't know how to do it. And so, but what that means is there is $485 on top of that current price target of 310 or whatever they have, that is waiting, sitting here. And that means at the second where he can justify it, at the second where there are Optimus pre-orders, he's going to put it in, which means the stock can go up 100% in a week. Yeah, right.
Pretty much. Like,
and so
if you add that to the current stock price, that's about almost $815 per share, which is just
exactly, that's like 130% or something. So, and you have to understand, once Morgan Stanley would do that, everyone else follows, and the stock literally goes up 100%, right, in a week. Now, everyone also knows that they're reading Morgan Stanley, so it's there will be certain things that drive the stock down, but there's also now everyone knows, okay, it's just a question of time. And Morgan Stanley that already told us is, okay, now we plug it in. So are you going to sell the stock even if there's credit pressure? The anticipation of that moment is going to come, and that moment could come in 2025. I'm talking now very tactically just on Wall Street stuff.
Yeah.
So there is a certain very non-trivial chance that Tesla goes up 100% next year, actually, because of that.
I'm actually working on my price target for 2025, and for 2023 and 2024, I've been spot on. In 2023, in 2022, I said my end price target for 2023 will be 260. We hit like 255 or something. I'm like, okay.
I know you were spot on the 350 too. That was pretty
and then
good.
350. I know everyone's like, "What's your 2025 target?" And I'm doing it, and I haven't released it yet. It's looking, I don't want to give much out, but I mean, I'm just trying to figure out this EV credit thing, which is just so stupid, which I don't think it'll make much of an impact. I reduced my vehicle deliveries. I thought it was going to be 2.3 million, but okay, fine. The EV credit's going to come and people are not going to buy it, whatever. I reduced it by 100,000 vehicles, even though that's not really going to matter. It's the energy that's going to matter next year, which is growing rapidly. And the deployment of Robotaxis, that's going to be very important.
My theory is what matters most even next year, potentially. I think there is like a 70% chance that this will be centralized, is Optimus. Because the chance that they will announce, they have an Optimus Day and they will announce something and maybe even allow pre-orders end of the year. And if this happens, this will override everything.
This will probably take the stock to even above 2 trillion. I have it here just below 2 trillion, not my final number.
It's 600, what, 620 or something?
I have it here so far, just a little bit. It's bouncing between, I don't want to say too much, to be honest, but I would say maybe around the 500s. I have it around the 500s for end of next year. But I don't know, not finalized yet, but I have it around there. But if and this is including Robotaxi sales and revenues that's starting to come in and being priced in slowly, and as well as the energy and all that kind of stuff.
I have it at around 600. Well, my fair value price would be 640 next year. And there is a chance that actually the market prices that in, but who knows?
If what you said about the Optimus thing comes in, then we can easily see a 600 plus, at least.
And here, Pejjy, the reason, I think it's very interesting when I look at Elon. Elon is very interesting. It's not, I think in that respect, Elon is like everyone else. And everyone else, I know from myself, and I pitch stuff, the more I'm insecure about something, the more I exaggerate. Right? Elon always exaggerated ridiculous about FSD. Oh, it's going to drive itself in 2017. Next year.
That was every year for the past 10 years.
And for my psychology, which is often very similar to Elon's, I'm simulating, I think I'm good at simulating Elon because I think the same way. And what I find so interesting is that he is always lowballing Optimus. I think you lowball when you have a very high confidence, when you see that we have that baby under control. So he is insecure on FSD. That's why he's exaggerating. He's now exaggerating less on FSD because I think he's becoming much more confident. And on Optimus, he's never saying, it's like, maybe 8 billion in 2040, but not in 2025. No, I don't think so. Maybe 2026, we have some sales. But then you see behind the scenes that they're already deploying like hundreds of these things in Tesla. So I think he's taking it very chill because he's absolutely winning. So I think he will surprise on the upside. Whereas normally
he also said it multiple times in earnings call that there's no one that can do what they do in terms of scalability. Like, here's the thing. I made a video about this recently. Some guy was talking about on Twitter how he's skeptical about this Optimus thing, how it's probably not going to work. And then Elon replies back to him saying that actually, sure, you have this idea of that it may not work, but what we're doing is trying to figure out how we can scale this thing. And then I read this and it's like one guy, this guy's talking about how skeptical he is, and then we got Elon here talking about, we're trying to figure out how to scale this. So it's like,
and Elon, I mean, it's a giveaway for me that Elon's always like boasting about stuff that he doesn't really have under control, which I can relate to. I also exaggerate because I'm insecure. It's like, no, this is going to be the biggest. When I'm not totally, secure about something. But if I know already, we have it in the garage, I'm saying like, well, who knows? Let's see how it goes because I am already winning. And I feel the same thing with Optimus. also, like we have to understand that Optimus is just fundamentally, quantitatively much easier than FSD. Because what people don't understand about FSD, why I'm such a skeptic still, I mean, it's going to happen, but about timing. Even if that thing is 100 times better than a human driver, it's not enough. Because 100 times means 100 times less deaths, which means you kill 100 people with a robotaxi. So you can't kill 100 people with a robotaxi. It's going to be a complete disaster, right? You cannot argue, but humans would have killed 1,000. It's like, no one cares. Your robotaxi killed someone.
Yes.
And so look at Waymo. They have to be super cautious. Like one deadly incident, like you can argue all day long about statistics. No one is going to buy it. So the threshold is insanely high. You need to be basically infinitely better than humans. I'm exaggerating slightly, but you know what I mean. You cannot afford to kill people. And if you can't afford to kill people, how is this ever going to work? Because you're killing 40,000 people a year right now with cars. So you want to kill zero? And if you kill one, you know what happens? Imagine a Tesla robotaxi kills someone. Like, imagine the shitstorm. And then to argue, what, we brought it down from 40,000 deaths to 1. Do you think that's going to help you? No, they're going to go nuts on you. So I don't totally see how this can work. I mean, they need to be perfect, infinitely better than humans, because otherwise you kill people. Whereas with robots, I mean, how hard can that be? You can do all the mistakes in the world in the beginning. Who cares? Oops, I dropped the coffee. Oops, I dropped the battery. It's like, who the fuck cares? Like, you can deploy them at scale. It's just statistically, they are 10% worse than humans right now. Deploy them. That's why I'm Optimus is just the thing.
Yeah, I mean, I want to see this in action. Like, I've started putting this in my long-term evaluation starting in 2026, about 100 of them being deployed or something like that at very, very low numbers. But
I mean, they probably have 400 deployed or 200 as we speak in Austin.
Yeah, and you know that brings down Tesla's COGS.
Next year, probably.
I do want to see, like, one of the things that I'm looking for, like eyeing a lot in my valuation for 2025 is trying to figure out what the operating expenses could be, because they're going to have, what did Elon say? Triple or quadruple the amount of bots by.
So Pejjy, one thing important for you. So you're talking a lot about very rational, like, business projections, which is good.
Yes.
But now we are talking short term. So short term, you have a lot of irrationality of Wall Street. So why I am bullish on 2025 on this layer, I always think in layers, right? So there's risk, there's business, boom, boom, boom. You need to treat them independently. So the crazy short-term layer is these people, these Wall Street people, these little herd animals, because even if they are smart, they cannot act smart. They need to go with the flow. They don't want to get fired. They can't, Okay, what happens there? The pro-Optimus propaganda. Yeah, I'm probably the worst, but many others are also bad. They're total propaganda. But now Morgan Stanley is already hitting Wall Street hard in the core. They hear that every day. Optimus, $200 trillion market cap, replacing half of human GDP. And it only takes 6 to 9 months to brainwash them, right? And they are getting brainwashed by us and by themselves at this point. So,
but question, what do you think? Hold that thought. I'm just curious to know, like, why do you think Morgan Stanley is going heavy on this?
They're not even going heavy. They're predicting 6 billion robots in 2040. They just, because Adam Jonas is a smart dude and Dan Ives is a smart dude, and Dan Ives pushed the boundaries because he's connected to YouTube, so Adam Jonas can't fall behind. So there's this Dan Ives effect that Adam Jonas is the follower. And it's like, I'm just going to push this conservatively because deep inside, I know they're all right. So if I become more aggressive than my colleagues, I will look smarter and I hedge my bets by just saying it's 400, not 4,000. What can go wrong? But that means it's now injected into the Wall Street stream. And then you have the reverse effect, right? You always think they're conservative idiots and they don't get it. It can also be the opposite. They become greedy bastards and say, well, now everyone's like hyping it up. I'm hyping it up. So for Optimus, I see it coming. I see so many people. For autos and EVs, there was always this friction because there was conventional auto. For Optimus, this is blue open field. And look at how Wall Street treats these kinds of things. Snowflake, Palantir, they are willing to go nuts on it. They just want to make money, right? So once you remove the constraints of a competing industry that's lame, auto, where they have their benchmarks, here they don't have benchmarks, so they can treat it like, NVIDIA or something. And they will. And that's the interesting thing. If that happens in 2025, the mindset shift that is already being in preparation for 6 months now from the inside, it can flip a switch. And then this thing goes to 1,000. Like literally, not because I'm saying my model fair value, but because of psychology. They're going to say, well, now it's actually the leader in AI robots. And this will happen. I think the probability that Wall Street flips on Tesla and suddenly says, okay, they are just totally going to lead the robot revolution. If this happens in the next 24 months is high. And if that happens, it goes to 1,000 fast. And this is independent of my model, because my model, like, that's why I have a value model. I want to, if it goes to 1,000 next year, I think it overshoots its target, and then it will like probably go, you know, flat a little bit and catch up with my real fair value trajectory. But it might happen on the Wall Street psychology side, because you know, you have to anticipate. You have to anticipate it, Pejjy. Like, you know how these people think. They look at the other people and say, what do the other people say? Think about Adam Jonas. What does he say? It's already at 800, his price tag. He's already preparing 800.
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much.
He's holding it back. He's teasing the carrot and testing the waters and doing something kind of rationally very stupid, but politically very smart. He's a politician. He's a Wall Street analyst. He says, look, I'm saying 850, but I'm not saying it. I'm saying there's 485 sitting here that's not in there, but it's actually in there, but I'm just saying it. So I'm not putting it in the price tag to see what you guys think. Then everyone gets familiarized, and then in 9 months is, okay, now it's clear that it happens. I put it in. And then you have a price tag of 850, and then it goes to 1,000. Like, we just have to be prepared mentally. I tell you, this is a very high chance this happens in the next 24 or 18 months.
That's incredible. I just wish he made one for Robotaxi as well, because that's more closer than the bot. Maybe it's not.
I don't know. I don't think it's close.
That's the thing. I don't know. I think okay, in terms of
And by the way, Pejjy, I'm a big I bought what did I buy? I bought like $300. I bought $300 calls expiring December 26 in April. They were like, what, $30 or something? $29. Okay. They are now 130.
Oh,
so
nice.
So unfortunately, I did some margin shit and got squeezed out. I had 10 contracts. Now I only have 2. Whatever. And now I was buying, because 2026, I think the stock would easily be at 2,000. Easily
2028. I think around there. I think it's
and 2026 it's gonna be guaranteed I don't guarantee anything, but for me internally, I think
financial advice.
I think it's guaranteed to be. I think it's guaranteed to be over 1,000. So it's an interesting play to pay to buy, for example, $600 calls. But I did that yesterday. A few. They're costing you $60.
That's expensive.
Yes. So, but it tells you people are wising up to it. It's like, oh, $60. That's crazy for a 600 strike price. So people really start catching up. So there's something building up on mass, saying like, okay, this is going to get maybe crazy. And so I would be totally prepared. You see all the signs lining up that in the next 12 to 18 months, we could hit 1,000, just tactically. I'm not even saying that would be rational. I'm just saying this can definitely happen.
Yeah, if that happens, oh my God, I'm not ready to see 1,000 yet. You know, I'm not ready to see 1,000 yet. I want to buy more. I mean, I'm trying to buy. I mean, I'm not in a rush to buy any more shares, but because I've been buying aggressively for the past 4 years, now going to 5 years. It's time to save up for a house or something. I don't know, man. You know.
I'm just so bullish on it. I always debate with myself if I should disclose more how I actually trade, but I think that's too dangerous. Then I get sued if people corpus can lose a lot of money. But I'm doing like deep in the money short puts and stuff like so basically leverage.
No, I mean, I know a lot of people on X that do that. They say, yeah, subscribe to me and I'll show you guys how I trade, but don't take any of my thing as financial advice. I'm just doing what I do. Don't copy me. Don't follow me. I mean, if you lose money, that's your problem. Don't follow me. You know what I mean? Don't copy what I do. I just do what I do. And if I win, well, you win. And if you copy me, and if I lose, you lose.
I mean, I'm just like I can't really daily explain exactly what I do. There's too much going on, and I'm just concerned if I would actually explain to people how to do that. This is always ending in distraction if you do it the first, because you can. You become greedy. Imagine. If you have 1,000 shares and I explain to you, do you know you could have 6,000 right now? You would say, oh my God, then you get greedy. And the first time you make like $200,000 in a day, you think, oh my God. And next thing you know, you get wiped out. Right. So that's the problem.
That is the problem.
Once you understand the weapons, you get so greedy that it always ends up wiping you out, because you don't understand if you can make 200,000 a day, you can also lose 400,000 in a day. And
that's why I stay away from options. I don't do it. I just buy and hold. You know what? Just don't you can make a whole lot of money. You're bullish, you can put a good call, you can make good money, but I don't want the stress. I just don't want
you get a lot of stress.
You get a lot just buy and hold. The stock's gonna 10x soon. Again, not financial advice, but stock's gonna do well in the long term. That's all you gotta know. And the more shares you have, the
And there are also two extremes. Like I know people on the extreme, but a lot of people are on the totally other extreme. I hear there's people who agree with me. It's like, oh yeah, it's great. Thanks for the advice. I bought like $10,000 of Tesla and it's now 40,000. It's like, dude, how much money do you have? And we're like 2 million. It's like, you stupid. That's also stupid, right? If you have 2 million, going 8 million long on Tesla is maybe stupid, but going 20,000 long is even more stupid. I can't even, like, you need to be, I think, being 100% in Tesla is, for me, conservative. Let me put it like that.
Being 100% in Tesla is conservative. Yeah, that's crazy.
I'm normally a little more than 100% in Tesla, but
how is that even possible?
Well, through leverage, right? So, I mean,
of course.
I mean, if you,
I stay away from that. I'm like, oh man. I mean, I could.
Let's say you have $322,000, which buys you 1,000 shares right now, right? You could easily go 2,000 shares long. You just sell short some deep in the money puts. Easy. You can do 3x that. And then you are very happy if it goes up. If it goes up 10, you make $30,000 in one day. But the problem is, if it goes down 10, you lose $30,000 in one day. So
that's the thing. Do you drive a Tesla?
Well, right now I just gave up my car because I just moved here, and I'm now looking into. I got my Cybertruck order now ready, so I'm debating Model 3 versus Cybertruck. Yeah, but I think I'm going for Model 3. Model 3 performance is just.
Model 3 is so good. I rented it out for a whole month in Canada, in Toronto, when I was in summer. What an amazing car! Oh my god,
new one. I didn't like the old one. I'm still like. It's funny. I'm such a Tesla fan, but when it comes to cars, I'm still a little German. It's like they need to be perfectly manufactured, and they had issues. But the new Model 3, I think it's just that's it.
It's really good. I mean, are you planning to get full self-driving on it as well?
Again, I'm very stingy sometimes. I want to wait because I think my prediction is. I rather watch the pros on YouTube to judge this. And my prediction is, I'm very cynical sometimes. I believe in all that stuff, but as a consumer, I think we are still getting ripped off a little bit because full self-driving would be $99 a month. Very simple. Why would I pay $4,000 if I get it for $99 a month when it's fully ready? So I just wait, and I don't need to be. I watched for stock analysis. I watch my people. I have my theory about FSD. I think it's very difficult because you need to get to total perfection to not kill people at scale. And I don't care too much. And I'm actually not so tech geek here. I can wait, right? I just want to be, I'm very financially driven all the time.
Yeah.
And
I know what you mean.
So I'm not in a rush.
The only reason why I do rent out these cars for like a whole month, and I rented a Model S and a Model 3 for quite some time when I was in Toronto, and I only do that for business expense. I don't do it because if I don't do it, government's gonna tax the crap out of me, and I'm like, dude, you know what? Screw you. I'll rent it out for a month, and I'll drive it every day. I'll get 2 of them, whatever, just so I can increase my expense, so I can show less revenue or less earnings to pay less tax to you. Screw you, man. So that's the only reason why I would do all these things. But honestly, my next car, like here in Kuwait, there's no Teslas. Like there's no EVs here, and there's a lot of markets like that.
But you saw didn't I see your post? You saw a Cybertruck, I think.
Yeah, there's only 2 Cybertrucks here in Kuwait, only 2, and they ship it.
Shake.
Yeah, no, not even some shake. It's just some guy who's like literally like a 10-minute drive away from me. He has it. I'm like, oh wow, Cybertruck is here, and he took it to the car show as well, which that was pretty cool. But there's no EV infrastructure here. The guy charges at home, and there are local charging stations here, but they're garbage. Like, I want my next car to be a Tesla, but it just doesn't fit here in Kuwait. Unfortunately, I can charge it at home. I can get a plug. I can charge it at the apartment here. Thankfully, it has a plug-in. I can do that. But then, if something goes wrong with the battery, or there's something fundamentally wrong with the car that I have to send it back to a dealership to Tesla to fix. Well, there's only 2 dealerships or 2 service centers that I can send it back to, which is Qatar and Dubai. And the only problem is that expats cannot import cars. So if I ship it out, or even if I want to, buy it and import it and quit, I can't do it because I'm an expat.
So how long? What's your plan? How long are you going to stay in Kuwait?
Well, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, Canada's garbage, right? I can't. The problem with Canada is that it's just.
Are you free to choose your?
What do you mean, like my?
Like your location where you live? Can you just?
I could if I want. I could, but my work and job is here at the moment, right? And because of the family business and stuff like that.
I mean, your
So,
YouTube is pretty, I think it's growing nicely. So once you hit a critical mass
yeah,
and your
I
Tesla
mean,
shares, I mean, I
yeah,
think
I mean,
Austin is like, this is the new headquarter of the world. That's my
yeah.
theory.
I mean, I'm definitely looking into Texas to see if I can get something there. Maybe I don't know in the next couple of years or so, and just be there. I mean, I love Canada and all, but it's gone very bad. It's gone.
I mean,
I
you know
mean,
what? Like, I like the different countries, but after this election, I mean, the US is just completely dominating the freaking
that's what I
world.
mean.
Like
That's
what
what I
a
mean.
country pulls this kind of thing off? Like Trump winning, Elon becoming the master of Doge, Vivek coming. Like, this is completely iconic. We are talking about like 1776 stuff, like literally
Yeah.
changing history. And the other countries, I like Germany, for example, there are good things happening, but there's just no comparison. Everything happens in the United States.
In Canada, you can live a really good life if you have the only way you can live a really good life in Canada is we have an account called a TFSA, which is the same thing as a Roth IRA in the United States, where it's like it's tax free. Is if you can get this TFSA to multiple of millions and then put it into a high paying dividend stock that also grows yearly, that pays about 4 or 5% a year, and you rack up 20 to 25 grand a month tax free. That is the only way you can live like a king in Canada.
But you can't take it out.
Oh, you can. It's tax free. If you want, you can take out the whole millions if you want and do whatever you want with it. But then
Really? You
if
don't
you
have to
want,
wait until you're retired?
no, what you're referring to is the RSP, which is the retirement savings plan, which is the same thing as I don't know what that would be in the US.
I mean, it's a
But
Roth IRA. The Roth IRA, you can't take money out until you're
oh,
55.
so the other one, not the Roth IRA, the other one, the other thing you guys have.
I don't think there is a thing where you don't pay taxes unless
Oh, you
it's a
guys don't have
retirement.
that? Oh, okay. So I guess Canada wins up here. But in Canada, we have two accounts. We have one that you can't touch it because it gets tax deferred, and if you pull it out, you have to pay a lot of taxes on, which is the retirement one. And then we have the tax-free savings account, which is completely tax-free. If you make $10 million, you can pull it out tax-free completely.
How is that possible? That sounds
It
great.
just that's how it works. They call it tax-free savings account. Like I maxed that out with Tesla stock, all of it. So I know a few friends of mine that they bought Bitcoin in it, and the other one was working until he was 50, and now he's fully retired, and they have like $5-6+ million in those accounts, and they just live off the dividends, which pays them 20 grand a month, tax free, and they just say, yeah, man, I'm living whatever. I mean, I don't care when things get expensive. I have a home, I have 20 grand coming to my account without me doing anything, whatever.
But I mean,
That's the only way you can do that in Canada. Like everything else is just expensive, man. Like if you're an employee, I mean, 50,
but still,
40,
like, if
50% of that.
for me, it's always like the question: once you reach abundance of this sort, what's your plan?
Yes. Yeah.
Because we are
That's the
all like
thing.
so constrained, and oh yeah, now I can live. I don't have to work. Yeah, okay, fine. But what do you do now? I mean, that's why I like being here. You can, you can do great things. You don't stop living just because you don't have to work anymore. You have to actually
Yeah.
start building real things, and therefore you
Yeah.
need cool people who inspire you.
Yeah, I'm in Texas or Florida, but I think Texas is just a whole lot cheaper than Florida, and that's where
That's
everything
true.
is pretty much too. So
I checked
I
out
don't know.
Miami. It's very cool, but it's like I think there is more intellectual energy in Austin because you have Musk, you have Joe Rogan, you have Chris Williams, you have all these cool people. And I like it a little bit more. Miami is very cool, but it's more expensive and it's less intellectual, in my opinion.
I'm thinking to come to Texas in the summer for a week or two, just to see how things are. I don't know where to go. I don't know, maybe Dallas or Austin. I don't know.
Give me a heads up. We can.
Yeah, I'll give you a heads
hang out
up for
here.
sure. Yeah, see what's up. See how because I've been to the States, but only to New York, and I did not like it at all. Too busy,
It's
man.
crazy town, yeah.
Oh my god! But that's it. And New Jersey, I've been there as well, but it's not my take. Too busy. Too busy. I like my secluded area.
I mean,
and-
Texas, especially if you're a creator and you have to do stuff and you need it quiet, but you still need cool stuff. I think Austin's very magic because you can live in the forest, kind of
Yeah.
at the lakes, but then it's only 30 minutes to the
that's nice.
city, and then you have all these cool
That's
things.
nice.
Also, New Yorker says like, "Oh, the food is bad" or something, but yeah, I mean, compared to what to your Manhattan stuff, like, I mean, it's all relative, right?
So yeah, no, I'll definitely give a shout summertime if I have that all planned out and stuff. But I'm definitely really looking towards the US and stuff like that. I don't know. The next 4 years is gonna be so golden.
I think it's so crazy. Like people have also underestimated Trump's situation. This time he's so serious.
No,
He's so prepared.
What's crazy is that the first term that he got is nobody was happy. Nobody was happy with him being in office. But now it's completely different. Everybody's happy. Everybody wants him. And the fact that you got backings like Elon Musk, of course, then you got RFJ Jr., which is like his father was the most respected Democrat ever, and the fact that he became he supports
His
Trump,
uncle. They both got
crazy.
killed. They killed his dad and his uncle. So his uncle was
Yeah,
JFK.
yeah, his uncle. My bad, but it's crazy to me that it's just like how can you be so bad that you piss off the grandson of the greatest Democrat president to go to the Republican Party. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, Elon knows all about it. He lost a child to the mind virus. This thing is literally a
he talks
virus.
about that.
It's a virus, like not a virus. It's a mind virus. This kills the host.
Like,
you know.
let me tell you how bad that's gotten in Toronto recently. They had a parade party. Like, I'm not against gays or homosexuals, whatever. I don't care. But they had this parade party in the middle of downtown Toronto, and they classified this. They made this as family friendly. Okay, cool, family friendly. But guess what these guys were doing? They were fully naked.
Yeah, it's
like no shorts, and I'm just like, how can you call this family friendly? And you allow your kids to come and see this? Like, that's just messed up. That's just messed up.
I
so
mean,
that's how bad it's got in Toronto.
It's a very fascinating study, but I think we are all over it at this point. We know it's a mind virus. We know it's like literally like a mental illness, like literally that destroys the host. It destroys the people who have it, who are the carriers. And it's very sad. It destroys the institutions because that's the only explanation. The Democratic Party murdered itself in the most obvious way. I was like, what are you doing? What's your secret agenda? There isn't an agenda. It's like a zombie. If you ask a zombie, why are you like running around eating brains and you're dying? Like you should like find a cure. The zombie's not going to get it. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
And I think they're in this vortex of destroying everything around them and themselves. And that's why it's also wiping itself out, right? They were not able to get feedback anymore from the outside. Like that's why so many liberals voted Trump, because they said, I have to get out of here. This is like crazy. Like liberals, but people, all these the radical right-wingers are all total Democrat liberals. Like Elon, Joe Rogan, RFK, Tulsi Gabbard, they're all like freaking liberals. And now they are like radical right-wingers. They haven't changed. Mind virus have changed their old home. They said, oh, I'm scared. I need to get out of here. So that's what it is.
I just can't wait. I hope. I mean, next election, we're not gonna have liberals anymore in Canada. It's gonna be conservatives, which is I really hope they can. But it'll take them a long time. Trudeau really messed up the country. But anyways, we can go on and on for a long time.
Politics is a very interesting subject, but
it's a lot. It's a lot. But thanks a lot for coming on, man. Is there anything that you want to say before we end this awesome podcast?
Well, very important. Right before you probably publish this one, I will publish on a live stream, but then also available the model and start looping you guys into my channel, YouTube at Joe Bhakti. You can maybe link it or something. And so
in the description.
I hope we do more collaborations. I really like this. I think you're doing a great thing, and it's always fun to watch you. You have a lot of energy. I love it. And so I think it's good to have the different perspectives of the different YouTubers, and I will publish the model, and from there on also do more frequent YouTube videos and go through more aspects of the model. I want to have it as a two-directional thing, so you can ask me questions on X, on YouTube, and the model is getting refined all the time because all these variables change. So I want to make this like a centerpiece of my channel. So check it out.
Sure, yeah. And links are in the description on X. Joe's X and YouTube is in the link in the description, so you guys can check it out. Good stuff, a lot of good stuff. I know some of your videos have gotten like viral, going like $5,000 per share by 2030, which today we saw it could be double that.
It could be easily double that. And the most important thing is once you see the model, it goes up basically 100% per year for a very long time. So that also means if it's 2,500 by 2030, it's going to be 5,000 the year after. If it's 5,000 in 2029, it's going to be 10,000. So it doesn't really matter. It's about the return because the underlying markets and trends are so huge that you need first principle thinking. You cannot compare to anything. You have to think about what does it really mean.
We'll dive more deep into your analysis because that analysis was pretty interesting. But again, thanks a lot, Joe, for coming on. We'll definitely have more of this in the future. Everyone, smash that like button if you haven't already. Hit subscribe. And we'll definitely see you guys in the next video.